Welcome to 357's Talking Circles. I'm your host, Garrett Thomas. We're here and we talk with racers from the Midwest that race across the states, as well as racers from across the states that race in the Midwest. If you want to get video access of this footage, go and give us a like and share and follow at 357 WOD, at 357 Studios, and at Talking Circles Pod. That's all on Facebook. For the audio version of this, you can check us out at Talking Circles on Spotify. We definitely like to thank our sponsors that make this possible. Chemstream Race Fuels. Use Chemstream, go fast. Also, we'd like to thank ACT Tire and Auto in Flora, Illinois, and Ferris Commercial Lawnmowers. Now on Talking Circles, this is our second guest. We did a lot of conversating, covered a lot of territory, broke it down into 2 episodes, but let's jump in to part 1 with Shane Cockrum. Welcome to Talking Circles, Shane Cockrum, guest number 2. Shane is our second guest of a list of a lot of guests that we want to come. So thank you, Shane, for taking time out of your day to hop on here and chat with us.
Yeah, I'm pumped. You guys got a good thing going, and as I've told you, anytime I see at the racetrack, man, I think there's a need for some of the backstory around some of the racers around here, and both locally and nationally. So props to you guys for having the courage to do this, and it's not always easy, but you get a lot of cool information out, and so I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I tell you what, this is an episode I'm really pumped about because there's a lot of history between you and I. Even goes way back into our Little League of Baseball days, all the way through high school. So let's go ahead and let's just jump all the way to the start. Let's not talk about much what's going on right now till later, but from the beginning, I know I was trying to think back. I believe you were 14. Don't know if you ran go-karts before then, but what was your start of dirt track racing?
Yeah, so honestly, the first race I ever attended, I was 6 weeks old. Went to the Florida Winter Nationals. Of course, my dad being a sprint car racer, and I call him a professional racer because he ate, slept, and breathed sprint car racing. So, he's kind of like a lot of these guys that had a little bit of a side gig, and he was an entrepreneur, did his things on the side, but, he was really looking forward to the spring and race season. So, that was my first race. After that, I lived a pretty normal childhood. I mean, it was all about high school sports and grade school, Little League, and, all that thing. And then, I think it was around 1996. Of course, my brother was a racer. He raced micros, kind of got up and raced stock cars. And I just, I'm a 14-year-old kid, man, I get the itch, and so I start harping on Dad, let's try this. And finally, he kind of caved in, and we ended up buying a modified. Now, at that time, a 14-year-old kid in a modified was a little bit unheard of. And people probably called us both crazy, but, my brother was running modifieds. And so it just made sense for us to both be at the same racetrack. My dad was obviously only one guy. He couldn't be going to a go-kart track on a Friday night and then trying to race with our brother on a Friday night also, so it was kind of a baptism by fire, if you want to say, getting thrown in. So, yeah, so that, 96 was the start, and we just kind of went from there.
It was green and black with a chrome, and I guess it just carries on through even today. You've got a thing for flashy numbers because that thing was chrome. It hit the lights, it would blind everybody. You were 33, that was my number, and we actually had some talks about that when you got into high school because you was a year above me. So every time it got time for me to pick a number, I always had to go to my second number, which was 10, and that was your brother's number.
Yep.
So if we go back to 1996, just for a second, I want to tell you something that meant a lot to me in my days growing up. Was your brother actually? There's not a lot of guys that would take a Saturday before they go to the races and actually go pick somebody up. He'd come to my house and pick me up and let me work on his car, and I was there. And then when we got to the races, I can remember K&L used to do a drawing, and if you they drew your number, you got to pick a race car. I picked Brian's. Brian took me around the track, and just really phenomenal to be a part of that. So 1996, you're in a modified number 33 Chrome. And how long did you stay in that?
Yeah, so not to get off topic, but real quick, that's exactly what he did. Is exactly what we need to be doing. And honestly, look at us now. I mean, here we are. I'm still racing because of the kind of things that he did for me. And obviously, you're still involved in motorsports and making waves with a talk show because of influences like that. So I mean, obviously, I guess we're them now, and it's our job to do the things that they did so that the next future racers are healthy. But so yeah, I mean, I got started there, and like any 14-year-old kid that gets thrown into a full-size race car, it was really just about trying to get out there and get comfortable with racing with adults. Not only had I not had like a go-kart racer that raced with his friends his whole life, I didn't have any of that. So here I am, a 14-year-old kid, and all of a sudden I'm looking up to guys that's they're 6'5", and so you want to talk about a learning curve. How do I race this guy and rub him, and what happens if he's not real happy about it after the races? How's that work out? So we did that a few years, and we had some success. I mean, I can't say we won any features, but we were we did like every other new starting racer. You try to develop laps, and you get your time in, and that there's no fruit without labor. And so that's what we did. And when I turned, I think 17, my dad, he said, it's smart. At the time, I thought it was horrible, but it was the smartest move he ever did. He said, "Son, I'm giving you this race car because you're not going to race on my pocketbook for the rest of your life. And if any longer I delay this, is less of an education you're going to get about how to survive." And he said, "Here's your race car. You do what you want with it. I can tell you right now, in 3 years, you're either going to be broke with nothing left, or you're going to prosper." And of course, that was in, like I said, 1999. And here we are. What's that? 22 years later, and I'm still going after it. So, made some good decisions. He taught me a lot, and so we were able to start from there. And I of course, in high school, you're worried about everything that besides racing. You're worried about high school sports and football. We had #1 state football team.
Yep.
It's all you're kind of living that varsity blues type life. You're not racing, you're chasing girls, you discover them. And so that's kind of what I did. And honestly, I didn't really start taking racing serious till, I don't know, probably 2001, 2002. It was at that point I realized that, hey, maybe I do have a little bit of talent if I can channel it the right way,
Right. I think even in high school, when you was involved in having that fun, didn't you dabble a little bit with four-wheelers, racing down in Casey or something?
Yeah. I mean, I tell everybody I've pretty much raced everything. You know what I mean? I did race four-wheelers and got to be pretty good at it. Was winning races in it, and honestly, I think at one time, I mean, I was very versatile. I did everything. I mean, I almost won the $10,000 to win bar stool race on ice at the Springfield Coliseum. I was racing, winning on go-karts. I was racing, winning on four-wheelers. At that time I'd run modifieds. I had just getting started racing and winning late models. So I mean, it was it was pretty much at that time, man. I thought whatever that had wheels on it, I was going to race it, and I seemed to have some success doing it.
So then in 2001, that'd have been you're basically graduating in the May of 2001. So that summer you start taking it serious. When was it that you made the move from modifieds into late models?
So it's kind of a cool story. My brother had a late model. We were kind of helping him doing his thing. I was running modifieds, of course. Like any 19-year-old kid or 18, 19-year-old kid that's trying to run a race car. There was no money. I mean, I'd race 1 week and then help him for 2 because I couldn't afford to race. Well, he happened to go on vacation, and when he left, he said, "If one of you guys wants to drive my car Saturday night, go ahead." Well, of course, he was looking at me and one of my crew, or his crew members, and we looked at each other, and the fight was on for the week to figure out who was going to get late model. So I take this. I finally convinced. I pulled a slick one. I convinced this crew member I'd let him drive my car, and then I got a little heat off me, and then I drove Brian's late model and went to Mount Vernon and started a late model race. Come from like 8th and won it in my first ever late model start. Of course, I can still the emotion. I can still feel it from being part of that. And
Oh yeah.
so after that, man, I was hooked. I'm going to set the world on fire, and it hasn't been quite that easy, but that was really the turning point. Him going on vacation, and I wish he'd have gone on more vacations because it was fun driving his race car.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's another thing too. I'm thinking about, you being, 18 years old. So you're 14 to 18, you're running at K&L, you're running with the big boys. What went into it when you did get into somebody? I mean, we talked to Daniel, and Daniel's like, man, I couldn't race late models. He said, unless you want to fight all the time, and that's big rivals and big fights there on the weekends. But how did you deal with the guys coming up to you? How much respect did you have for them?
Yeah. Well, my dad taught me respect early on, and he was stern with me, and my dad it was a tough love type of deal. You got out of line, he let you know it, and I think that of course, being 17, 18, 19 years old, you're 6'8" and bulletproof. And when I started getting that courage to run those guys that the way they ran me, obviously they didn't like it. And, I still today say, I spent there 4, 5, 6 years in Mount Vernon, and I was in at least one fight a year, and when you fight at the racetrack, it ain't like a school fight. Nobody stops it. Nobody breaks it up. It don't break up till there's a winner, and I was in a few of those, at least one every year. And of course, here I am, a 18-year-old kid fighting adults, fighting grown men, I won most, but I'm not saying I won them all, and the ones that, and of course my brother, everybody that knew him, he was scared of two things, nobody and nothing. And, he helped me out a few times, and I'm obviously very thankful he did, because I'd probably still have black eyes from the guys I pissed off. But it's just a difference, and that's the way when you grow up in stock cars, that's the way it is. You have to it makes a man out of you. You got to be tough. You got to be ready. And in those cars, you can sometimes rub a guy, and you're the aggressor, and you get the advantage. When I moved over to open wheel cars, what I learned real quick was the guy that's the aggressor most of the time is the guy that ends up getting his lunch aid, and you don't have to go down and beat him up because he's got two black guys from from flipping 8 times down the straightaway. So it's just a different mindset, different people, like I said, in open wheel racing, as long as I've been in open wheel racing, nobody comes down wanting to fight, and I don't know, maybe because I'm bigger than them, I don't know, but nobody comes down wanting to fight, and you don't go to their place wanting to fight. It's just a different breed, really.
And what was your takeaway from the Tim McCready, comments a couple of weeks ago, whenever he was talking about the respect being earned?
Yeah, he's spot on. I mean, we saw yesterday or something, KT Jr., Kevin Thomas Jr., he jumped on somebody at the go-kart track. I guess they're in Indy doing a charity type of deal. Yes. And who knows, why it's, but it's two grown adults, and, they can handle it how they want. But, I think that the racing would be, you could keep everybody a little more honest if you allowed them to do that. You betcha. We're just in such a litigious society now that everybody wants to just, you scratch somebody's cheek and they want to call the cops, and they want you to spend the night in jail over, instead of dusting yourself off and saying that, that was an ass whooping I deserved, and so.
Yeah. And I really wish a lot of more parents would take, maybe take the kids, and, there's a funny story that I had at the track one time with Jimmy Wells. And if you know Jimmy Wells, I mean, anybody's going to pop their mouth off to him. He's ready to go. I mean, he's the first one that's ready to throw down. And I can remember him the first time coming back after being suspended. He comes back to the track, and this little punt kid or whatever. I mean, just pump takes Jimmy out. Jimmy goes down to his pit, and this kid looks at him. He's like, I'm 14. What are you going to do about it? You're going to be made. I'm like, gosh, don't say that. I mean, Jimmy, Jimmy stepped back, but it looked at me like that, and I thought, if my kid ever did something like that, you know what I'm saying? And so it's good that you say that, you know, how your dad kept you honest and definitely raised you to be respectful. So you're in the late models. How long did you stay in the late model class?
So, 2003 was that first race, and I had the itch, and obviously by 2004, I figured out a way to get a late model, and ran a late model in 2004. I probably won 8 or 10 races. Of course, I'm high on confidence, and out in the racing world, when you've got confidence, it's hard to outrun you, and so. That, and of course, that opened some doors. And then in 05 and 06, I'm driving for other people in late models. We're winning races. Everything's going good. I'm living the life that 3 or 4 years before I had never dreamed of, and people are calling. I've got rides. People are calling me to drive other cars, and I'm turning them down, and it's at that point. And so I did that, and then went back and fielded my own car in 07, 08. And in 2008, ended up winning the UMP Missouri State Championship. So we were starting to make some progress, but stock cars, man, they're expensive. And those guys, and it was getting out of hand. And, of course, there in 2008, I lost my father, and I'll say it, I tell everybody that asks me, I lost my mother. I tell them I'm a mama's boy, and I tell everybody I'm a daddy's boy too, because, my parents were my heroes, and so, with my dad, I sit at the house, listen to stories, and people come over and talk about driving race cars and winning races, and never got to really see him in person race. And so, he passed away, and I thought, I'm not going to be 10 years older than I am. I think I was 27 at the time. I'm not going to be 37 years old, look back and say, man, I wish I had done this 10 years ago. So I took everything I had stock car. I mean, every piece I could find, and I put every single piece for sale. And I sold every bit of it. Didn't really have a plan. And me and a buddy of mine thought, let's go to the Chili Bowl. First time I'd ever been to the Chili Bowl. Went to the Chili Bowl. And of course, anybody that ever gets their baptism into racing at the Chili Bowl, you'll never see anything like it. And I went that first year, and I said, 27 years from now, it'll be my 27th or 28th Chili Bowl. And so ended up buying a midget and went midget racing in 09. So when you started that in 09, what did you race locally, or just stay here in Illinois? Well, here's the thing about the midget deal. It was really getting up and going. And so you had to go run Power I. You run the Power I National Series. Well, on any given weekend, you might have all the USAC guys there. You might have the guys from the Rocky Mountain from Colorado. You might have the guys coming in from California. And obviously, you're always going to have them hot shoe or two type guys, at the time, the Darren Hagans, and, the guys that fly in on Thursday to race Friday and fly home on Saturday. And, I stepped up to, there was no local shows, that's the thing about the midgets. It's very difficult to find a show to get your, feet under you, because you show up, here I am, my first ever race in a midget, here I am showing up, and I'm racing against 43 or 50 or 55 national level guys. It's, you better be ready to race.
And never at the same track every single week to basically dial your car in. It's something different every time.
Yeah. I was going to racetracks that had been the first time I'd ever been there, each week. And the guys you're racing with, they've been there for the last 5 years plus,
Right.
So, but I did get one on them. I think that first year I went to, they had the Winter Nationals. It was at Kemper Arena. I can't remember what they called it. It was, but it was a midget race indoors, and at that time there hadn't had any of them. And, went there, had like 70 cars, huge deal. Went in there with no expectations, and come out of there after Saturday night and ran third. I think Brad Kuhn won it, maybe Brad Loyette, and here I am run third.
Brad Loyette.
One of the biggest national races I went to, and honestly, it was the way home from Kansas City. I remember my phone just blowing up, and it was blowing up with people who I knew who they were, but I was sure they had never heard of me, and right. Congratulate me. And so that was the start. I knew right then that, we all have those moments. That was my open wheel moment.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you is, kind of what your defining moment was. And you actually didn't you not pick up a feature win? in the midget?
I did. That was 2010, I guess. And, I didn't get to race a lot, obviously budget constraints really slowed me down. And, I think I ran about 10 times a year and, just did the best I could. And, but that was tough. And then in 2013, we started the year out the Power Ride National Tour, went to Jacksonville. It was an April race. So USAC had nothing on the schedule. So all the USAC guys were there. I remember it was like it was yesterday, 55 cars, all the hot dogs. I'm going in there thinking, man, if I can just run the top 10, I'm going to go home happy. And went in there and went from fourth and passed Darren Hagan for the lead with like 5 or 6 to go and won it in my first national race. And, when I say defining moments, running third at Kemper was a defining moment that said, hey, you can run with these guys. And winning at Jacksonville, a Power Ride National race was a defining moment that says, hey, listen, sky's the limit. You keep going, and of course, it was a pretty exciting couple of years there because in 13, I win my first national race. I turn around and I'm running a USAC Silver Crown car. I almost win DuQuoin, but I run out of fuel. I come back in 2014. I get hired on the USAC National Tour in a sprint car by Shane Wade, which is Chuck Amati's grandson. Run the entire sprint car tour in a sprint car, learned a ton. Towards the end of the year, go to DuQuoin in the Marion Underground number 66. Slide job Dave Darling on lap 57 for the lead. Run off it. Me and Chris Wyndham have a battle. Chris gets by me late. Chris hits a cushion, flips the thing. I get back by him, go on to win my first Ted Horn 100. So, between 13 and 14, then come back in 15 and riding pretty high, still run the sprint car, go to Terre Haute and Terror Haute, which is what I call it. And hook a rut going into 3 and flip end over end and get hurt pretty good and spent the night in Terre Haute, lost my eyesight for a couple weeks. And, man, you want to talk about, I was hurting and it hurt and I was down and out. And, that was in May, and July 2nd was the USAC Silver Crown show there. So here I am, May, I'm going to the doctors and the, optometrists. I'm trying to figure out why I can't see. And, I'm still throwing up every day and can't figure out what to do. And just my head's just fuzzy. And, it was a bad concussion and, just couldn't quite get over it. And here I am racing for another guy. I'm scared I'm going to lose my ride, and it's that normal deal you hear about. Go to Terre Haute in July for the July 2nd Sumar Classic and lead all 100 laps. And when the Sumar Classic, of course, it's obviously emotional victory lane because here I am 2 months before this, I'm getting hauled out of this place in an ambulance, if somebody could have shot me, I'd allowed them to because I felt that bad, and then 2 months later be standing victory lane. You want to talk about 180 degrees from each other. And of course, that projected me then to win the Ted Horn 100 for a second year in a row at DuQuoin in 15. And it's just, man, you want to talk about some awesome years. I mean, they were great years.
So I think after that, you come and then, that's your basic, you're unbeatable. You're doing phenomenal. And then isn't that when you start running like 4 classes for Shane? Was that 15 or 16?
Yeah, that was in 15. We actually went to the 4 Crown Nationals and we ran every class. We ran, at the time we ran the 3 that day, and one day we ran the midget, the sprint car, and the Silver Crown car.
Yep.
And we actually won an award. We ran 4th in the midget behind Clausen. We ran 6th or 7th in the sprint car, which was a stacked, Eldora 4 Crown. There's 70 sprint cars there. We run 6th in the sprint car and then turn around, come back and run 3rd in the Silver Crown car. So, if you can go to the 4 Crown and run, maybe that ain't Kyle Larson style, but
well, that's a different deal though. Yeah.
Yeah, but for a small town guy from Benton, Illinois, to run essentially in the top 6 in the 3 biggest races on the same day in the country, the 4 Crown, man, it was a huge accomplishment for us.
And so that wing car that you guys had, because I can remember coming over and seeing all the cars lined up. It was such a, such a cool thing to see in Benton to have all these cars. And what was that? Was that a 410 or was that a 360? I can't remember.
It was both. It was both. Shane Wade. It was. We started off. We ran a little bit with a 360 deal, and really just to get our feet wet, and we said, man, we're gonna go, take the world by storm this year. And of course, what we found out real quick is, we were spreading ourselves too thin. There was no way to hit midget races, Silver Crown races, sprint car races, and then go run wing races and do all this with me and two guys, on the crew. And so, we learned real quick that was too tough to do. And I wish, looking back, I wish I'd have done some wing racing, just didn't get to.
I was wondering that. And so was that the year that you ran the most races then?
Yeah, I think, man, in 15, I'm wanting to say we ran altogether about 70 shows, you know.
Wow.
So you want to talk about busy. I mean, I had a business in town. At that time, I was a firefighter, career firefighter. And so, fortunately, I had a lot of good guys because, man, I was never at the firehouse. I wasn't ever running my business. I had somebody else doing it. And, I mean, you want to talk about having all the irons in the fire. But it was a dream of mine. I was going to do whatever I had to do to make it work because, I mean, how many guys get the opportunity to go run the USAC national tour? So,
Well, let's stick on that there that year 2015. Who was your biggest rivals? I mean, who was the guys that when you show up to the track? I mean, of course, really, I think when you look at USAC, I know there's more than one. I mean, because any given night, that's what's so good about the sport. That's what's so good about midget racing is you could show up and you're gonna, the odds of one person winning every single time, like you said, unless Larson's there, is slim to none.
Yeah. Here's what I'll say. My competition all year was really CJ Leary. Me and CJ, it seemed like no matter what we did, we were, he was running one spot better than me. I was running one spot better than him. And we were battling back and forth. And, obviously look at CJ's latest, accomplishments, USAC national champion, I look back sometimes and say, man, if I'd have stayed on the national tour and just, really hustled to keep rides, and because that's what it is. It's a hustle.
Yeah.
I'd have probably, I could race right with him any day of the week. But, I don't know, for me, it just never was that, I enjoyed being the guy that went to his real job. I love being a firefighter. Of course, obviously the fire chief now, and it's my career job Monday through Friday. I love doing it. I love helping people. I've got two loves. And so, being able to go do that was important to me. And I know what a career racer's life looks like. It's, it's steak after you win on Saturday night, and it's, spam if you don't, and so, I didn't want to stay in the Hilton one night and sleep in my car the next. It just wasn't never really that appealing to me. So, obviously it held me back. It held me back from some racing accomplishments, but it probably benefited my personal life accomplishments.
Well, Shane, I think that pretty much covers quite a bit of your history. A lot of it there, a lot of family stuff. Which is always phenomenal to hear about. Getting in with Shane Wade. Is there anything else that you want to add to basically the history part of this?
Yeah, I think we kind of covered there, 15 and since, I guess my career's been a little more steady. Since 2016, we ran the sprint car over in Indiana. And of course, anybody that knows sprint car racing knows that Indiana is the Mecca. It don't matter where you live. If you're from California and you want your kid to be a sprint car racer, you're sending him to Indiana. And to be able to go over there and Putnamville and Bloomington and, knock out in 4 years, 3 track championships, really it's a testament to the people I've been able to get hooked up with. And, so doing that and that's been pretty much my life for the last 3 years and still running the Hardy Boys stuff. And then the Hardy Boys stuff kind of ended, of course, everybody's getting a little older. We had a 10-year run. It was awesome. Never had any disagreements. And, and really just look back there as just an awesome time. And then of course now what we're getting ready to start, we've started a brand new USAC Silver Crown team, and it's got first class equipment, got all the Hardy Boys people involved, and it got all the people and equipment that's capable of not only winning races but really winning USAC championships. So it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we don't want to spoil the part two, because that's going to do it for part one. So for you, those that are tuning in, let's make sure you tune back in. That'll be the end of part one, but we're gonna keep going and release part two at a different date. And so we hope to see you guys there.